Hello everyone! Today we're going to talk about what some people, in fact a broad range of people, in evaluating places in the world to live, consider to be the best or one of the best places to live for quite a long time now. And it's not a place that we talk much about. There's a bunch of reasons for that. I'll go into those in a little bit. But we're going to discuss what are the residency options and citizenship options in that particular place. The citizenship is super good, and so that's really exciting. However, it's difficult on both accounts in terms of the residency and the citizenship. So we're going to talk about it and go over whether it is something that might fit for you, your family, whoever else, and dive in. This country that we're talking about is the country of Austria, okay? Very, very famous place, obviously, as having a really good passport, as having, like a fairly high quality of life. It ranks pretty high. If you were to look at, best cities in the world to live in, a lot of times people would say Vienna is great. A bunch of the people that I know who have spent time and lived in Vienna seem to really like it, generally view it as quite good. However, the taxes are not typically good. Now, I will, in a future video, do a video on how to optimize your international tax in Austria in order to figure out, okay, what is it that might work for you if you do want to go down this path. But before that, for this video, we're going to talk about just residency. Now, I'm not in Austria today, and so we can play a fun little game of where is Michael, and then in the next video, we can discuss, I will share with you what that place is, and we'll see whether you got it right. Now, to be fair, I'm walking around this quite beautiful park, actually, and so I don't know that there's that much that is going to give away the location. But anyway, we will see what we can find out. And if any of you have a guess, put it in the comments below. We will dive in to go there. Now, we're talking today about places to have residency. And obviously there's lots of different variables on that: quality of life, safety, weather, taxes, cost of living, economic opportunities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This being said, while we're talking today about Austria, there are lots of places that you might want to go. And so if you are interested, we have created a guide on 10 places where you can go and live a luxurious life for a great deal, essentially. So high quality of life, low cost of living. And we walk through those countries, talking a little bit about, what are places that you, in terms of tax, some of the great things there. What are the places? What are the cost of livings like? What are some of the cities you might want to go and live in those places, etc. So it's a free download. You can download it. There's a link in the comments below. And so, yeah, by all means, go and check that out. Now, diving into the details of Austria. So first of all, very important to note, Austria is not an easy place to move to. It's, if we kind of think about places like Canada, the US, Australia, etc. Australia maybe in a little bit different way. I mean, it depends on where you're from, but a lot of these places are just not easy. So the first residency program, there's 3 residency programs that I'm going to talk about here, or 3 programs. One is not necessarily residency, but we'll talk about it. Has a 300 person per year limit, basically. And so that's, it just tells you, right? Like, all right, they're not just going to take anybody. They're not going to have you come in quickly. Notably, in addition to this, both of the first 2 options have a language requirement. So normally, it's very normal to have a language requirement for getting citizenship in a country. This is a language requirement having residency in the country. Now, it's only an A1 level of German, but still, that's, you still have to consider, hey, listen, I'm going to go and have to have some knowledge of the language, which is almost nowhere, right? It's very, very rare. Anyway, so the first one, they sometimes refer to it as kind of Austria's version of a golden visa. I would say it's more like a retirement visa because it requires that you demonstrate that you have the economic ability to sustain yourself, okay? That basically means 24,000 euros a year for a single person. It goes up depending on number of family members. You're supposed to deposit 40,000 euros into a bank to prove your kind of financial capabilities, which goes up again if you have family members coming in. It is not a quick process. You're talking about, it depends a little bit on the application and things like this, but I'm going to say 6 to 9 months would be not untypical to go through the process of getting a residency permit like this. It is initially a 1-year residency. However, you can renew it so long as you meet the criteria. You do have a minimum stay requirement of 183 days per year. And this, as well as the next one, often to renew, they want you to demonstrate higher levels of integration into Austria. And as a result, you have to have A2 level of German in order to qualify. So not just, come and do nothing, etc. So that's that. Of course, because you're in the country for 183 days, so those other things, you will guaranteedly, if you want to be renewing it, be in the tax system, which leads again to the fact that we'll talk in another video about how to optimize taxes in Austria. Make sure you subscribe to get that, and I'm going through doing guides on all sorts of countries, right? So depending on whatever country you're talking about, if you have one, you can put it in the comments below that you're interested in. But otherwise, I'm gradually covering off various different countries and giving explanations for what you can do to optimize in those places. And of course, that's general information. If you want specific advice, then please reach out to me. You can book a call, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer. Always link in the description below. And yeah, we'll do that. Now, so this is kind of the first one. Now, it's worth noting some good things. Gay couples are accepted in Austria, and common law couples are accepted in Austria for family reunification. So this is not true in all places. And so that's good, right? It makes it a little bit more permissive. Over the course of time, it takes, after 5 years, you can get a permanent residency, basically. And this goes for the next program as well, which I'll talk about. But worth noting, you can get that, which is great. It gives you a little bit more stability as time goes on. In fact, I was recently in Austria, and I was talking to a guy from Macedonia who's lived there for, I think, 18 years. And maybe it was more than that. Anyway, a long time. And he's never actually gone for the citizenship. Notably, Austria typically does not allow dual citizenship. So you're generally required to renounce your other citizenship, which isn't great, right? It's not amazing, although it is a great passport. It gives you basically all the access that you would want compared to, it's definitely one of the top. And so not the end of the world if you're going from a bad passport, but if you wanted passport optionality, well then not so good for you, right? So worth considering that. You need to spend typically 10 years of residency in order to qualify for the citizenship. So that's, it's quite a bit, right? It can be expedited in certain cases, depending on, contribution and integration and things like this, but generally that long. And then usually when you apply for citizenship, it's typically a 12 to, I'm going to say 36 months process. Typically not 36 months, but, it's not a fast process to get it instantly. So, for the right people, I think where I would consider this is if you want to actually live in Austria, right? And you say, hey, listen, the quality of life is awesome. I would like to be there. It's great for my kids. It's great for, schooling and for having healthcare and stuff like that. That's the case. Now, notably on this visa, you cannot work, okay? There's no working ability. That's the whole point of being able to prove that you can support yourself. This brings us to the next one, okay? The next one is a visa that applies to entrepreneurs, self-employed people, and skilled workers. It's a little bit complicated because since it is a skilled worker program in a sense, they have a point system. And depending on which you're going into, you need 70 out of 100 points or 55 out of 100 points. It's depending. There's kind of 3 categories you can consider. The one is setting up your own business. The second one is going and getting having a job offer from somebody in the country. And the third one is being self-employed and demonstrating some benefit in terms of creating employment, etc. And so all potential options, obviously slightly different criteria in terms of how you would qualify for each of those, but doable. In particular, if you're looking at starting your own business, you have to invest 50,000 euros into it. This is typically for kind of like a startup entrepreneur, whatever, something like that. And note that obviously that's going to be a taxable company in Austria, because you're going to have to set it up accordingly. And so, you'll deal with that on the corporate side as well as the personal side. So that's that. In this case, again, sort of the same time frame to get approved, same criteria in terms of you can add spouse and dependent children and all that sort of thing. This being said, the process will typically take somewhat longer because you have to form the company, you have to make the investment, you have to go through all that. And no, you have to do all that stuff not knowing whether you're going to get approved, right? So, all right, the good thing about it is, then you can actually work in Austria, etc., earn money. And so for a certain set of people, that is fairly attractive. It's just a little bit of stuff to go through. Generally speaking, I would say if you have the wealth, if you can't get in on the first one because there's not enough application space, you can probably get on the second one just by setting up a company and investing the money. But of course, you need to have the wealth. This brings me on to our third option. And our third option is probably most interesting for people. That being said, very difficult. And this is citizenship by essentially exception. I have had maybe 2 clients, 1 client for sure, maybe 2, who have kind of worked on this process. It is not an automated thing. It's not like, oh, I invested 2 million euros, therefore I can qualify. Typically, it's a 2 million to 10 million euro investment, although it's technically not fixed. There are favorable conditions for, if you have stuff with the sports and culture and technology, etc. There are options that can work for you if you're somehow engaged in those sorts of things. And this is, by the way, pretty common in a lot of countries. Okay, a lot of countries, if you have some sort of exceptional contribution you can make, then maybe you can get in. This process, because it's so long to go through the approvals, etc., typically takes 24 to 36 months. And so, that's not great, but at least you didn't have to go through all the 10 years of residency and all this sort of thing involved. But it's definitely not like, hey, I'm going to make this investment, do kind of nothing else, leave the country, and off I go. This is not what they're interested in. They review you very thoroughly. They're really looking for something fairly specific. And as a result, it's just, I think that you need to view it from this standpoint. And I've had a client who kind of viewed it a little bit from this standpoint. Making an investment in the country anyway, just because, hey, I'm happy to make the investment. And then based on doing that, saying, well, I've already made the investment anyway, let me try applying and see how it goes. And if you can get it, great. But I think if you're viewing it from the standpoint of, hey, listen, let me build myself some plan B option and play around, this is not the one for you. So anyway, I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. We are going to do a bunch more of these, so check out the next videos coming up. And if you are interested in going to any of those places or you want to look at other places, by all means, download our guide. And I will look forward to seeing you on the next video.